which I gladly do and which I fully embrace.
This hour on WMNH is proudly sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 171 Londonderry Turnpike in Hooksett. Serving all your employee benefits planning, design and administration, investment and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. They are available at 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
You are listening to WMNHLP, Manchester's radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA. Contact us by email at WMNH953@gmail.com or through our website at WMNHradio.org.
Alibi, his calendar boy. Yeah, little calendar boy. Alibi, his calendar boy. He kept it for almost 40 years. January, he starts the year off drunk. February, with all his privileged punks. March, he'll march right up to the roof. April, get an Easter booth. Yeah, he thinks girls are toys. His alibi, his calendar boy. That he kept for almost 40 years. Maybe they might buy his alibi. June, don't you know he might break down and cry? July, 4th of July. August, time for beach week with all of the guys. Yeah, he thinks girls are toys. His alibi, his calendar boy. That he kept for almost 40 years. Alibi, his calendar boy. Yeah, little calendar boy. Alibi, his calendar boy. Yeah, little calendar boy. Alibi, his calendar boy. Yeah, little calendar boy. Alibi, his calendar boy.
I drank beer with my friends. Sometimes I had too many beers. I liked beer. I still like beer. Had beers, have some beers. One beer, drink beer, drinks beer, drank beer, and drinking beer. You've probably had beers, Senator.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor.
You know, I got a weak stomach, whether it's with beer. I like
You
beer.
haven't answered that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one.
Hanging out and having some beers with friends, which I gladly do and which I fully embrace.
I came in and took a very hard position. And you know what? Now we have this great relationship, and let's see what happens. We're going to have another meeting. Chairman Kim would like to have another meeting. We'll have a meeting. I was really being tough, and so was he. And we would go back and forth, and then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love.
Sometimes you got to go in the truck, so I guess that'll be my job.
Auto sequence starts. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And somebody's got to explain this to Trump, so I guess that'll be my job.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's that time again. Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from a dreary, rainy, damp downtown Manchester, New Hampshire, on streaming at WMNHradio.org, which you can find on the TuneIn app, of course. We also are, Channel 97 Comcast if you're in the Manchester area, and of course via Facebook on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. I already see Rob Kleiner in there. Hello, Rob. It's good to see you in there. I don't think I've ever seen you show up in the Facebook live chat during the show. And of course, Heidi Hamer, who is very loyal to the program. And it is, of course, Monday, October 1st, 2018. 603-250-6007 is the number to call. And joining us in the studio, the People's Mayor.
Bonjour, Jipermizzi. Good afternoon, Monday afternoon.
Glenn R.J. Ouellette.
Yeah.
I was trying to leave a dramatic pause between the People's Mayor and your name because I've been thinking about it. And I think your name requires the gravitas that only a dramatic pause can offer.
I am a regular citizen like everybody else.
Well, I'm glad that you're regular.
And that's who I represent.
I am too. I'm very regular. It's a good feeling.
Do you like beer?
Beer? I do. I like beer, and it's something that I fully embrace.
There's nothing wrong in liking beer, but for a guy who doesn't want to be known as having that character, he's starting to come out, isn't he? Out of the closet.
Yes. I mean, he clearly enjoys beer, and, there's nothing wrong with that. But,
nothing.
This other stuff like the boofing and whatnot.
How about a beer?
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that mess. But anyway, 603-250-6007 is the number to call.
And we have a president that's fallen in love with Kim Jong-un. How do you pronounce it?
The correct pronunciation, Glenn R.J. Ouellette, is Kim Jong-un.
Oh, Kim Jong-un.
Right.
Whatever you want to say.
No, you've pretty much got it. A lot of people get it wrong, but no, it's Kim Jong-un.
So we have one that loves beer too much, and the other one is in love with a man, mind you.
Now, this, and I have to wonder something about this. Trump saying that he and Kim Jong-un fell in love.
With love letters.
Yes, they've been writing love letters back and forth, and I think that's nice and everything, but could this be, Glenn R.J. Ouellette, could this finally be the one thing that costs Trump the support of the evangelicals?
Yeah, what would the religious right say? And what does Malala say?
Oh,
in
right.
love with a man.
Well, I mean, the whole thing could be a gambit to make her jealous. But,
she had nothing to be jealous about, trust me.
Right. But the evangelicals, they don't approve much of the
no, they don't.
The man-on-man love.
Will this be their last straw?
I mean, it's one thing to have like a bromance, but falling in love, that's a little
with love
thing.
Letters going back and he didn't
with love
say
letters, yes.
He didn't say if he answered them though. That would have been my question. Have you been going back and forth?
That's true, but
he said he read them.
But
they
clearly,
were great.
It would be a shame if Kim Jong-un's love went unrequited. That would be terrible. But clearly, Trump does return his affections. He said, "We fell in love."
Yeah,
and
can't wait to meet him again, can he?
Well, you know what would be really now? See, of course,
round 2 coming soon.
Trump's parents have passed away, and actually, Kim Jong-un's father obviously has passed away. But is Kim Jong-un's mother still alive?
That I don't know.
It would just be interesting
he
because
still has some siblings. He's killed some of them off, but he still has some left. He's got a sister that he's very close to.
Because typically in a situation like this, I mean, for one thing, you've got two dudes who everyone thought was straight. How would, if their parents were still alive, how would they react, like they all meet together for the holidays or something to have some turkey, and it's like, Trump has to, if Trump's parents were still alive, like Trump has to tell Fred and whatever his mother's name is,
I've fallen in love.
I have some, I have some news for you. Kim Jong-un is not just my friend or my college roommate or whatever. We're kind of gay and whatnot, and then
he's my presidential lover.
And he's Asian. That's a song, isn't it, from the 80s? I think that is that Billy Ocean? You and me, my presidential lover.
I'm not sure.
I think that's a song. I could be wrong. I might Google it, but look, I mean, I personally, I don't judge.
No, I'm not judging either.
Whatever they're into is what they're into.
Just comedy.
And if Trump and
who am I to judge?
If Trump and Kim Jong-un, if their love, their deep, passionate love, helps keep the world safe, then I think that's wonderful. Perhaps.
But who will rule?
Well, I
him
mean,
or her. I mean, him or him.
right. Well, that is so often the question in
They're
these
both very stubborn.
instances. Trump would be the bear, right?
I guess.
I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate for as a heterosexual man for me to be using this terminology, but
don't know either.
You really you have no.
I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't go. You're going a little bit too far.
I'm
I know
wondering,
this is radio, but a little bit too far.
I know. Well, I'm just saying.
Comedy's comedy.
This is big news. I don't remember Barack Obama falling in love with Kim Jong Un.
It would have been awful if he would have. Huh? What would the people have said?
What would Michelle have said? What would Sasha and Malia have said? They would have been like, "Dad, we feel like we don't know you." Glenn R.J. Ouellette is getting a call right now, probably from Kim Jong Un. Very exciting. Got to turn that mic up so we can eavesdrop.
Hello.
He's the people's mayor, after all. He's a very important man.
This is Glenn speaking. May I help?
When the people call, he answers. It's hard to hear, though. I do enjoy a good eavesdrop. What? Oh, can barely hear that.
I'm not in pain. Bye-bye.
Now, what does that mean, Glenn R.J.? What was that? Kabish, Kata, Kaka, or something? I don't speak.
She won't hang up.
Was that French? I don't know what that was. I don't know what's happening. I'm terribly confused all of a sudden. Oh, and I notice now you're.
She won't hang up.
It's like you're furiously tapping your phone with your thumb. It's as though you're actually thumb wrestling your phone.
She wouldn't hang up.
Well, what did she want, Glenn R.J. Ouellette?
She wants to know if I need pain medication for my back. I don't need pain medication.
Okay.
She says, you live in the house, and are you one of those that have pain medication for your back? We get better. No, I don't need your medication.
Well, good for you, Glenn R.J. Ouellette.
It's a marketing thing, and they do it all the time.
Just say no to unnecessary pain medication.
That's right.
Yes. Now, speaking of bromance, Trump apparently has reached an accord with Justin Trudeau. They've settled things. Actually, this is
Well, Justin Trudeau is more of a romantic, though, wouldn't you think?
Why are you saying that? Just because he's handsome?
No.
And I'm secure enough in my masculinity to say, is that the same woman?
I don't know.
Do you need?
If it is, you want her on the air?
Sure. Maybe you do need some pain meds. Very exciting. Oh, no. Did they hang up? Hang up?
Yes. Can I help you? I'm not interested.
Oh.
I'm not interested. Thank you. Goodbye. Take me off the list.
You should,
Don't continue talking when I say goodbye. I hate marketers.
Yes. Well, you should have her call the studio line.
They don't take no for an answer.
Maybe she could sell me something. That'd be very exciting.
You want some cream that will make you go la la la?
Okay, I don't know what you're referring to, and I don't know what
she was referring to pain cream.
I don't know what. Oh, I thought you meant something else. No, I was going to say
she was referring to pain cream, and it'll make you take away your pain. It'll do more than that.
I don't know what you've heard, but my la 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 is just fine. Thank you very much. I'm a young and virile man.
No, I say that he's a romantic because if you look at him, I mean, you hear him speak. He's more of a romantic. It's not a judgment. It's an observant thing. Trump is not a romantic.
Oh, you don't think so?
No.
Oh, hello to Patrick Henry, who joins us in the Facebook live chat.
Trump is more of a dominant. If you look at how he treats his woman.
Oh, my goodness. Well.
And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go further and get myself in trouble.
Well, we don't know how he treats Melania. I mean, he does try to hold her hand. And,
yes, and she keeps pushing it away.
She does push it away.
So you got to say something about that.
She will often rebuff his affections. But we don't know beyond that.
Don't want to know, do we?
Not really.
No.
Not
really.
Well,
none of our business.
A little bit curious.
None of our business.
So let's see. CNN. Well, here, actually, let's go with the. We'll go with the CNN story. Oh, hello to Jeff Lorenz, also known as Scumpy. You can often
hi, Scumpy.
Hear him on the morning show. CNN's reporting Trump hails new trade deal and his own negotiating tactics. Well, he did get this done. credit where we're very critical of Trump very often on the program, but he did. I mean, this is a big win for the Trump administration.
What is the
I would
deal?
say.
What was the deal?
Well, let's learn together.
Is it beyond the cow, the pasture, the milk stuff? Or,
I don't understand these
lumber. The two things we were in trouble with Canada was lumber, that they're misusing us, and dairy products.
Okay, because I was really confused for a second there. I was going to say I don't understand these farm these farm analogies. Are we past the what did you say? Are we past the pasture? Are we
it had to do with
the hen house?
I didn't say hen house.
Are we cracking eggs for an omelet?
They are hurting the dairy product.
I was very confused.
So the dairy farmers and the lumber farmers, the lumberjacks. The lumber farmers, actually, the people who farm wood, and that's what they do for a living.
Right, lumber farmers.
Yeah, there's no equal. Their tariff is too high, and they're dumping their lumber here, and that's not fair. And I agree with that. But everything else, we made $8.6 billion off of Canada last year. And I always said, if you negotiate the entire treaty, they could win. If you only negotiate the two that they're in trouble with and make it fair, everybody wins.
Right. Well, it says here, President Trump today celebrated his administration's renegotiation of NAFTA, calling the new deal with Canada and Mexico historic news that will be a boon for the U.S. economy. I like a good boon I think anything that's a boon for the economy is a good thing.
Well, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that is what boon means. But I feel the word is not used enough. Usually I only hear it within the context of a proper noun, like when we refer to T. Boone Pickens. But that's not Boone, that's T. Boone. And we don't really talk about T. Boone Pickens that much. But it's a great name. I wish I had a fun name. Don't you ever wish you had a fun name like T. Boone Pickens? God, I would love that. I would love to be able to meet someone for the first time, shake their hand, and say, my name's T. Boone, and then be like, T. Boone what? I'd be like, I'm T. Boone Pickens.
If it really reflects you, that's fine. But if it doesn't, what kind of fun is that?
I just think it's a fun name. I'd love to have a fun name.
T-bone steak?
That's not a fun name. That's a food, Glenn R.J. Ouellette. I think you're
fun. It's fun to eat.
You are the people's mayor, but sometimes I think you're also terribly confused.
It's fun to eat.
Okay, yes.
Tasty.
Well, a little tricky for someone like me.
Good buds.
I'm a klutz.
You're a klutz?
So anything that requires a knife and fork, I have to be extraordinarily careful. I don't cut my hand off trying to eat that.
Make sure you don't pick
the
steak and then put it on your tongue and the knife goes click.
Right, that would all be very strange.
Very.
I can't even imagine being that clumsy. The president attributed the successful renegotiation, which marked the fulfillment of a key campaign promise, to his hard-nosed negotiating tactics and his willingness to impose new tariffs. Reveling in his victory, Trump made clear...
He does that very well.
Yes, he does. He's a little bit of a braggart. I don't know how many people have noticed, but he can be a little boastful at times. He likes to tell you, he'll talk about his enormous brain and all that kind of. I don't know if anyone's ever picked up on any of that.
Whose voice are you trying to play?
I'm just saying. I mean, he likes to talk.
Very, very large brain. He said, Donald Trump, they don't know what to do. Never happened.
Yes. Most
small
of that,
hands and large brain.
That's what they say. I remember hearing that a lot growing up in school. I'd hear the girls kind of whispering. You know what they say? Small hands.
Well, big brain. He at least has big feet because he's tall. He's got to have big feet to stand up.
Right.
For balance.
But he has those tiny hands. I, of course, have a big brain, as you can tell, because being Irish, I have this giant head. We Irish, we have these big Irish melons on top of our shoulders.
Bigger than might explode.
Yes, but I need it to hold my enormous brain. See, that's the thing, because we big-headed people, we're very smart. I mean, I'm honest about it. I realize I essentially look like a South Park character with this giant head, and I know
So are
that.
you saying you are a clumsy big head?
I am a clumsy big head. That's what they used to call me in school.
Really?
There were bullies, and they would push me down on the playground, and they would say, "Take that, you clumsy big head," and I would be like, "You're just jealous of my brain." That's right. The president attributed the successful renegotiation. Did I read that already? I did, actually.
Yes, you did.
See,
next sentence.
Sometimes my enormous brain malfunctions, but that's only because it's trying to do so much at once.
I think it's vibrating.
It is vibrating.
And repeats itself.
It does. It repeats it. It's incredible, though, the way my brain works. Let's see. Trump made clear he will continue to draw from the same playbook, one that has made Wall Street and top Republicans in Congress queasy, as he looks to renegotiate trade deals with other countries. Well, hey, maybe he does know what he's doing.
We do have to admit that Wall Street was doing very well right before he became president.
Wall Street historically, if I understand correctly, does perform better under Democratic presidents. But I mean, Wall Street owns both parties.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying
and they certainly
I'm
owned
just saying
Obama.
at the end of the Obama administration, they were doing very well.
Yes.
It's continued under the new administration, which is fantastic. We all want that anyway.
Well, because one thing the Obama administration taught us about Wall Street is that no one ever goes to jail.
Yeah.
And that's an important lesson.
We buy them out, right? We bail them out, not buy them out.
We bail them out,
out.
right. Too big to fail.
Yeah.
So Trump said, quote, without tariffs, we wouldn't be talking about a deal. Just for those babies out there that talk about tariffs, that includes Congress. Please don't charge tariffs. Without tariffs, we wouldn't be standing here, unquote. Those babies. U.S. and Canadian officials reached a deal late Sunday night, a month after the U.S. brokered an agreement with Mexico, and Trump threatened to exclude Canada from the three-party framework, which would have made it a two-party framework. I mean, my goodness. Do you even call it a framework then?
Another love affair, maybe?
You think he and Trudeau or...
No. I'm talking about...
Oh, I thought you were implying
Mexico.
something. You think he and...
Well, if it would have been a two thing, it would have been...
Yeah, well, you know what they say, Glenn? It takes two to make the thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. Let's see.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say about all this, really, except I have to say more because I have to fill 2 hours. Lighthizer told reporters after Trump's Rose Garden news conference, quote, to me, the fact that we got a good agreement is all the evidence you need that the president's approach is a good approach, is the right approach. If you're willing to walk away from an agreement, you're not going to get one, right? Unquote. Trump, who has long railed against NAFTA, once again called the original agreement, quote, the worst trade deal perhaps ever made, unquote, and described the new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, dubbed USMCA, as a boon for American farmers, U.S. manufacturing, and will improve labor standards. By the way, I like to think of, when I see that acronym, USMCA, I like to think of MCA from the Beastie Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And he was from the U.S. because they're Americans. That's how I like to think of it. Is that how you like to think of it, Glenn or J. Ouellette?
It's fine.
And I like to think of having to fight for my right to party, which I'm absolutely willing to do. You know?
How about a beer?
As will the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will uphold. If there's one thing I know about the future, it's the Supreme Court will uphold the consumption of beer, should that ever come before the court, assuming Kavanaugh is confirmed.
But if you're the president of a keg club, don't say you don't drink.
Right. Well, no, he made it very clear he does drink.
Well, he finally did, but at the beginning, that had nothing to do with him.
I hope there's not going to be any tariffs on
beer?
On beer.
Well, there's a lot of American beer.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of foreign beer, and
Well, a lot of American beer is sold in other lands as well, so it works both ways.
If Trump's not getting along with Angela Merkel, for example,
watch out.
He might start
more German beer. Huh?
Might start putting tariffs on some of this German beer that people
She'll do
love.
the same thing with ours, and then what? Nobody gets anywhere.
I don't think in Germany they drink American beer. I get the. I am not a beer connoisseur,
They're
but
probably not an importer of that much.
Yeah,
but I'm sure they have some. They have a lot of American visitors.
I don't know though. I get the impression that in other countries they regard beer as more like a beer flavored water.
Yeah,
that's just my impression. But
beer flavored water.
I am not an expert in these matters.
If they create a beer flavored water, people will be drunk all the time.
Why? It would just be water that's beer flavored. It wouldn't be beer.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. That would be fake beer, by the way.
We can't have it. I'm tired of all the fake news, the fake beer, the
fake water.
What do they call it? Near beer, that non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, but it still has 5% alcohol.
Well, then it's not non-alcoholic.
Well, that's why they call it near. Near, not quite zero. It's like potato chips. The non-salted potato chips are 5% salt.
So what's great to wash down some salty potato chips? Some non-alcoholic beer. That's what my grandfather used to tell me that.
And what's there to wash? Of
course, he had
you're
dementia.
Using non-salted potato chips that are only 5% salt.
No, I said salty.
But I'm saying I'm reversing it.
Oh, right.
What would there be to wash it off? Nothing to wash off.
Right, that's true. Well, why would you eat unsalted potato chips?
Because some people are allergic to too much salt.
People are allergic to too much salt, or too much salt just isn't good for them? Can
that
you actually
too,
be allergic to salt?
There are people that are allergic to salt.
I would.
I'm one of them.
You're allergic to salt?
No, if I have too much salt, it actually puts sores in my mouth.
Oh my God! Really?
I've been allergic to salt all my life. Yeah.
Wow.
I can have it, but I can't have an overdose of it.
Right.
Like I can't buy canned soup. There's too much salt in there.
It is salty.
And most potato chips are overloaded. Now this ocean salt is not so bad.
Sea salt?
Sea salt. It's much better. They say it's healthier too.
Can you have that?
Yeah, again, as long as it's not an overdose.
Right. Okay.
You know, they say everything is good in moderation.
Including moderation. I think.
I'm out of beer.
I'm anxious to see, have they signed this agreement yet, or has it just been agreed upon and now they're getting ready to sign it?
I think they've agreed upon it. I assume they'll have some giant, here's what I'd like to see happen, a giant ceremony with lots of, well, you'd probably like to see some fireworks and lasers, because you like those things, right?
Are they going to, is the article going to tell us what they actually agreed on, certain products? Or, for example, the big two things that we were complaining about was dairy and lumber. Have we at least come to a conclusion with that one?
Have we indeed? Well, let's see. Yeah, really, I don't think it really gets into that
Of course
here.
not. They never tell you the meat and potatoes of an agreement. They don't want you to know.
Well, I think that's mostly what this affects is meat and potatoes. I'm kidding, of course. Yeah, it doesn't look like it gets into the specific.
Well, until they come with the specific, I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not. Then, if you don't know what's in it,
right?
How can you acclaim it?
Well, Congress still has to approve it, too.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that
some of them will definitely want to find out what the meat and potatoes are.
Yeah. That will, yes. It says here the agreement represents a full.
It's that flavored beer water, isn't it?
I think I'm having a stroke. It's probably not something to joke about.
No, it's not.
I don't mean to stroke shame if anyone's listening who's had a stroke. The agreement represents a You know what it is, Glenn. Again, I brought this up before. My brain is doing like a gajillion things at once.
Is it hemorrhaging?
And it might be. That might be what the vibration is. You mentioned my vibrating brain. It's terribly frightening, actually, because to have such a huge brain is it can be terrifying. I'm sure the president has these
very large brain.
I'm sure he has these same issues.
Were you one of those kids when you were a teenager that used to do like Butthead did, and I was Butthead? Really fast?
I headbutt people all the time. The other day I almost headbutted at everybody in the studio when things spiraled out of control.
Oh, I left just in time, didn't I?
You sure did. I'll tell you what. Boy.
I saw it coming.
You just never know with me too. I'm like,
it wasn't you.
I'm like Mount Vesuvius. I might just explode on everybody at any moment. It's incredible. It's very terrifying. But it says here, Trump already appears to be concerned about the fate of his new trade agreement, wavering. Well, actually, if they vote on it before the midterms, he's got nothing to worry about, right?
I would think so.
Wavering between saying he believes the trade agreement will pass easily and saying he worries politics will get in the way. Trump said, quote, this is a nice long quote from Trump. These are always interesting because he usually butchers language. I like reading these things. Quote, I plan to sign the agreement by the end of November.
After the midterm.
Yes. I then will submit it for approval to Congress where, in theory, there should be no trouble. But anything you submit to Congress is trouble, no matter what. it's the single greatest agreement ever signed, but they'll say, well, Trump likes it, therefore we're not going to approve it because that'll be good for the Republicans, so therefore we can't approve it, unquote.
He trusts no one, does he?
That was coherent, though.
Well, yeah, but he trusts no one but himself.
Would you?
I have a trust problem, but not as severe as Trump.
Right. Well, I mean, this terrible fake news and all that. I mean, it's got to be, after a while, you're going to develop some trust issues. You've been the victim of fake news.
Yes, I have.
See? So you said you have some trust issues. It all makes sense. You have a large brain like Trump?
No, I'm not like Trump.
Not who does?
Not like you either. I mean,
right.
My head doesn't really vibrate.
I've got this gigantic vibrating brain. Actually, that'd be a great thing for Halloween, right? If I could somehow show my brain on Halloween and frighten people with it as it vibrates. How exciting would that be?
If it blew up, it would be frightening.
I don't want my brain to blow up. Now we're getting into some really
Halloween stuff.
That would be very Halloween, and it's the type of thing I'd only be able to pull off once.
Unfortunately.
But it would be a fascinating publicity stunt, right? Like, can you imagine, like if it happened during the show, and then the next day Peter White comes in to do the morning show, and he's got to pick up my brain off the floor, and because it exploded, and there's
sorry, Peter,
pieces of brain everywhere. Can you imagine? That would be a memorable Halloween.
It would be a gooey mess.
I mean, not for me. I wouldn't be able to remember anything. In theory, I would be dead. But there might be pieces of my brain on the floor afterward that would have bits of memory in them.
It would
I'm not
be
sure
a
how that
gooey
works.
mess.
Right, it would be, yeah. I mean, that would be, boy, talk about a stain on the floor, huh?
Let's hope Peter's not squirmish.
Or squeamish.
Or squeamish.
Yes, he might be squirming at the squeamishness of all of this discussion. Let's see. Trump added that he is not at all confident, saying Democrats, quote, might be willing to throw one of the great deals for the people and the workers. They may be willing to do that for political purposes, unquote.
Well, the Republicans might too. Who knows?
That's true, yes. They very well might. Trump's U.S. trade representative, though, said he believes the agreement will pass the up or down vote in Congress with a substantial majority. Lighthizer said, I think it's going to pass, and I think it's going to pass with a substantial majority.
If it's good for the Americans, it should pass. But until we know what the meat and potatoes are, it's probably not going to pass.
We need to know the meat and potatoes.
Need the details.
Details.
What's so secret about that kind of agreement?
They eat potatoes they eat a lot of potatoes in Okinawa, and they live to be like 300 or something. I don't know if you knew that.
I think they eat potatoes worldwide. It's like rice.
Oh,
worldwide.
Right. Yeah, but in Okinawa, I think they live to be like 500 years old because they eat potatoes.
Not that old.
Maybe not. Maybe like 400. Sometimes
Fake
I exaggerate.
news.
Sometimes I exaggerate things. It's because of the president. It works for him. I mean, he exaggerates things. Now he's president. You believe it?
No comment.
So Trump says he wants this investigation to be comprehensive. I'm confused about this, Glenn R.J. Ouellette. I'm confused about how comprehensive this investigation, this FBI investigation of Brett Kavanaugh.
It can't be very comprehensive if you're limiting its source. It was supposed to be a limited investigation is what he ordered.
Yes.
So that's not comprehensive.
But then he's also saying, he doesn't mind if they talk to the third accuser, that's fine. They can, I don't know. There's very mixed messages on this.
Mixed messaging, yes.
But I did.
They don't want you to know the truth.
Jenny and I on Friday, because, people say we're too hard on Trump, but credit where it's due. I mean, he made the right call. I mean, he said...
What call was that?
When he said, he was going to order the FBI to do this investigation.
He made the right call at the very last minute, though. He was always against it. He made it because they were in trouble. They didn't have the votes.
Yeah.
And when Flake went down, that was it. Because then he knew that Susan Collins as well as McCluskey and...
Oh, Murkowski.
And there's two others as well. There's four now that are in doubt. One of them is a Democrat from Virginia.
Oh, well, yeah. But, of course, for the Republicans, I mean, you've got the three, right? You've got Jeff Flake, who caused all this, and good for him. I mean, he did the right thing.
I congratulate him. He's speaking tonight at the Institute of Politics at 6 p.m., but if you're looking for a free ticket, they're no longer allowed because they're full house.
A full house, SRO, standing
Watch
room
the
only.
news at 11 o'clock.
Yes, so do you think he's running for president? Because why else?
No, I don't know. It could be. You never know.
It's the second time here that I know of. Maybe or it's the second time speaking here.
The attorney, what's his name for Diane, for Danielle?
Who?
And Snakeville. The attorney that's always on TV.
Michael Avenatti?
Yes, he's definitely running, and he was here again on Saturday.
I didn't realize he had been here.
This was his second time.
I knew he had been to Iowa recently, and of course, there's no offense to anyone listening who lives in Iowa, but
anybody can run for office.
There's no reason to go there
as long as you're an American citizen.
There's no reason to go to Iowa. I mean, you're not going to go there to look at cornfields. So if you're going to Iowa, you're probably running for president.
Corn does not vote.
No, but I think it should get a vote, shouldn't it? Welcome to the show, Patrick Henry says. Thank you. And hello to Brett Goodson, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. I think, he must be welcoming others to the show. I think I get it. I was confused. So Trump says, because it's doing so much, yes. Plus now I have the pressure of I have to figure out if I want to do this this Halloween thing where my head explodes. And again, because
take my advice, don't do it.
Well, it would kind of be the denouement. Am I saying that correctly?
You'd be doing yourself in.
Right, that's the thing, yeah. Unless they could put my head back together.
You're not Humpty Dumpty, are you?
No, but I
Didn't think so.
I have been through the reanimation process. I don't know if you know this about me, Glenn or Jay Ouellette, but I was once devoured by a pack of werewolves. And I did have to be put back together and reanimated. I haven't been the same since, and
Did
I mean
they
that
spit
quite
you
literally.
out because you weren't very tasty?
No, I was fully digested, and then but it's a grueling process.
Gooey.
Yeah. So, but here I am. I mean, it's amazing. I'm excited about this technology because eventually they're going to be able to do it if you're devoured by regular wolves as well. So it's very exciting. But, Trump said today he wants the FBI to conduct a comprehensive and quick investigation into sexual misconduct allegations against his U.S. Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, but not a witch hunt, he said.
That's why they limited it. So it's not comprehensive, but it's a limited investigation.
Right. Well, he knows something about witch hunts, certainly.
One of these witch hunts where you just walk out of your front door and all the witches are just landing in your front lawn.
Right there in the yard.
Wonder how many witches he's really known.
Huh?
Well, does he believe in witches? If he does, I wonder how many he's really known.
Well, it is Halloween almost. Well, I don't know. Can you say almost? It's still a month away, I guess. It's almost.
A little less than a month away now.
Kind of getting to be almost that time.
Today's the 1st.
Yeah, it is the 1st. I mean, so it's less than a month away.
We should say Happy New Month.
Happy New Month, yes. Trump speaking 3 days after he ordered the investigation said he instructed White House counsel Don McGahn over the weekend to give the FBI free rein to interview whatever witnesses the agency deems necessary. By the way, Don McGahn, that guy, he must be just going, oh my God, can we? Because he's supposed to leave, and he was supposed to stick around just long enough to get this done.
But he keeps hanging and hanging and hanging.
Well, he's got no choice. I mean, that's the commitment that he made, but he's got to be going, oh my God, when is this going to end?
When will it end?
Poor Don McGahn. I feel badly for him, I guess, sort of. I don't know. I don't really care about it.
He probably wants it to end sooner than later because it'll get him less in trouble.
Right. Right. Well, he did spend like 30 hours with Robert Mueller. Mm-hmm. What do you think they talked about?
I can just imagine.
I can just imagine as well, yes. The FBI will be guided by what Senate Republicans want examined, added Trump, who ordered the probe of allegations against Kavanaugh after Senate Republican leaders were pressed by Senator Jeff Flake and other moderates in Trump's own party. Trump said at a White House news conference, quote, I want them to do a very comprehensive investigation. Whatever that means, according to the senators and the Republicans who are in the Republican majority, I want them to do that. I'd like it to go quickly, unquote.
Well, it can't go quickly. I mean, they have the resources. The only thing that I don't believe is that you can't say, as president, that I want it to be a comprehensive investigation, and then on the other limit say, but it is a limited investigation. Those two things don't, they butt heads, so to speak.
It's like the old thing, it's like when your boss is riding you to hurry up and get something done, and you say, hey, boss, you want it done fast or you want it done right?
It can't sprue out of both sides of your mouth.
And then the boss says, I want both, and you're fired.
Yeah.
And then you say, no, okay.
Matt Connarton,
I'll speed it up.
You've been fired by Trump.
Oh, my goodness. I've never worked for Donald John Trump, but what an honor that would be to work for.
Really?
To work for the 40.
I thought you meant to be fired by him.
Work for the 45th president. Well, he doesn't like to fire. He actually, the whole idea that he likes to fire people is a myth, apparently.
Well, he does a lot on tweet.
He doesn't like to fire
Twitter.
people directly. Well, yeah, he'll use Twitter.
That's right. And you have to wonder why. Is he not man enough to fire his own people?
Oh.
Kudos.
Is he not man enough? Is that what's going on?
Those are rubber bullets I'm shooting off, or what?
Well, he's got this little romance with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. That should be a soap opera in itself as it develops. Huh? Can't wait for them to meet again.
I think there should be a reality show about it.
They probably will.
I hope so.
He can't wait to meet with him.
Well, of course, they're in love. When you're in love, you can't. What's that Dr. Hook song? When you're in love with a North Korean, you better watch your friends.
Is there a possibility you can fall in love with Iran as well? Their Iranian president?
I don't think. I don't know.
He said he was a nice guy. He said this guy could be a very nice guy.
Rouhani?
Yeah.
You think he's flirting with him a little bit?
Well,
you think he's into him?
It's a slight beginning.
It could be. It could be that maybe he'll offer to buy him a drink.
It's his way of doing things.
Except I don't think they drink.
No.
And Trump doesn't drink either, so that would be weird.
That wouldn't happen.
Trump is straight edge.
Neither of them drink.
He's straight edge from way back.
I don't know if he's straight edge, but he doesn't drink.
Maybe buy him a Whopper or something.
Bye-bye.
What? What are you talking about?
Maybe he's bye-bye?
Oh.
Well, Kim is...
Kim is bisexual?
No, Kim is a man, and they're falling in love.
He's exploring new feelings.
I don't know if we're going too far, but we're just joking, people. It is a story that he gave.
Yeah, but I don't judge. It's 2018.
No, I don't judge either.
And
who am I to judge? I'm not going to judge.
But again, I feel a little badly for Melania. And Kim Jong-un, I think, has a girlfriend.
That I don't know.
I'm sure
we don't know that. Do you know that?
He might be married. I'm pretty sure there is.
I don't know that either. We'd have to Google that too.
I'm pretty sure there is a lady in his life. Although some would wonder, these military parades are those an expression of sexual frustration.
And we talk about agreements, Matt. You know that Kim wants, if they're going to get rid of their nuclear, he wants us to get rid of ours in South Korea. And all of a sudden, that too will butt heads.
Yeah. Well, that ain't happening.
So that means there'll be no agreement then.
There will be no agreement, and they will quarrel like lovers.
It'll be quite a love affair, won't it?
Yes. Tempestuous, as it were, and as it will be. That's a great word, tempestuous. Some Democrats raised questions about the investigation's scope after weekend reports that Senate Republicans were working with the White House to limit the number of witnesses, set at 4 initially, and exclude the third woman's allegation. 9 of the 10 Democratic members of the Senate Judiciary Committee sent a letter on Monday to FBI Director Christopher Wray and Don McGahn, the beleaguered Don McGahn, listing 24 people who they said should be interviewed by the FBI and urged that the investigation assess all 3 allegations of sexual misconduct. The Democrat who did not sign the letter was Senator Chris Coons, who was instrumental in Flake's request for the FBI probe.
You got to stay neutral.
That's right. Trump added, including all 3 accusers as well as Kavanaugh himself, quote, I think the FBI should interview anybody they want. We don't want to go on a witch hunt, do we? Trump asked, mentioning, a term that he has used in the past.
Can't have it both ways.
Right. Well, when you're Trump, you can have it any way you want. He's the most powerful man in the world.
That's what they say.
He's the 45th president of the United States. Mm-hmm. The FBI declined to comment. Trump expressed sympathy and support for his nominee, a conservative federal appeals court judge whose confirmation prospects in the Senate looked smooth until the sexual misconduct allegations surfaced last month. Questions emerged over the weekend about the scope of the FBI investigation, which the Judiciary Committee sought on Friday after it approved Kavanaugh's nomination along party lines, sending the matter to the full Senate. Chris Coons, again, Democrat of Delaware, said, and he's the one who made the deal with Jeff Flake in the back room. He said, quote...
Or vice versa. Flake made the deal with him.
Yeah, because Flake was the one who initiated the Let's Go talk, yeah.
Which was good.
Yes. Coons said, quote, it has to be well beyond the initial very narrow scope of 4 witnesses, 4 individuals being interviewed, unquote. The panel's Democrats also asked the FBI to provide copies of all witness interviews and a list of all witnesses who refused to cooperate. Trump called Kavanaugh a good man who has been treated unfairly. Trump also said he believes Kavanaugh did not lie during his Judiciary Committee testimony about the extent of his drinking. That's right, of course.
How about a beer?
On the other hand, Trump said if the FBI uncovers something, quote, I'll take that into consideration. I have a very open mind, unquote. Trump did not elaborate. Supreme Court nominations require Senate confirmation. Trump's fellow Republicans control the Senate by a narrow 51-49 margin. That means that if all the Democrats vote against Kavanaugh, Trump could not afford to have more than one Republican senator oppose his nominee, with Vice President Mike Pence casting a tie-breaking vote in the Senate. Yeah,
and
that's...
And he now has 3 and 1 Democrat. That's 4.
Well, that's how perilous...
So,
well, yeah, the Dems are all going to vote against him.
If Pence votes to retract 1, they would still be 3, and then they wouldn't be confirmed.
But we don't know. So here's...
It depends on the investigation.
Yeah, I mean...
It's going to depend on if it was elaborated or not.
But does it depend on that? Because here's the thing.
I think it does.
So if the investigation comes back...
If it's a fair investigation and they find out close as they can to the truth, it would be a good judgment. But if it's not a good investigation, if they're not going to investigate his behavior, then what's it all about?
But we don't know. Here's what we don't know. The investigation could come back, and you know, these FBI investigations, they don't reach conclusions.
No, they don't.
They provide information.
They're not meant to.
But if it comes back and it looks like, you know, hey, we didn't find anything, we didn't find any corroborating evidence, etc., that's not necessarily going to be, that will be enough for Jeff Flake. That won't necessarily be enough for Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski.
And you're right on that. And that's because it'll probably be not because that they found nothing. It'll depend how elaborate was the investigation. Did you exclude people who wanted to testify?
Right.
Remember, we were told this morning on Fox News, I watched them all, on Fox News, it simply said, if let's say if Mark Judge decides, I don't want to be investigated, you can't force him. It's not that kind of investigation, although he did say he would cooperate.
Yeah.
So if certain people want to testify and they're not allowed to be called on, that's not elaborate. That is definitely an a limited investigation.
But we also don't know if Murkowski and Collins, they may have already made up their minds that Christine Blasey Ford was so compelling and so believable. I mean, their minds might already be made up, and we just don't know that.
And they could also
it may not matter what the FBI says.
And they could also have made up their mind because of his behavior.
Right, because he got
a little bit strong.
He got a little belligerent. Yeah. Did you happen to see the Saturday Night Live had their season premiere? You saw the opening sketch with Matt Damon.
That was pretty well
as Brett Kavanaugh.
That was pretty calm from what they normally do, though.
That was great.
It was done in good taste.
I guess. I mean, obviously, if you're a Republican, you hated it, but
even some Republicans
hate
were
SNL
afraid
anyway.
Going to be a lot more. They were afraid it was going to be worse than that. It was done in pretty good taste.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty brutal, but I loved it. I mean, I love that kind of. I love political satire anyway, always. Yeah, that was
freedom of speech.
Anyone who didn't see it, of course, it's on YouTube. SNL basically at this point, like they kind of just sketch by sketch. They put the whole thing. You can actually watch the entire show on YouTube now at this point if you don't happen to see it live. But Matt Damon as Brett Kavanaugh, and he actually looked like him. I mean, he really legit looked like him, and so
good actor.
Funny. Oh, so good. Anyone who didn't see it, I recommend it. Let's see. Flake, backed by fellow moderate Republicans Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, asked for the FBI investigation. Democrats previously had demanded an FBI probe, but Trump and other Republicans had opposed the move. Flake said he was in close touch with McGahn's office to ensure the investigation is thorough. Flake said at an event in Boston, this must have been before he came up here, quote, "We certainly want the FBI to do a real investigation, and we are working to make sure that happens. It does no good to have an investigation that gives us more cover, for example. We actually need to find out what we can find out."
That is
unquote.
correct.
So so what happens? See, the problem is...
to me, what boggles my mind, Matt, is that you can't say comprehensive and then say it's limited. Those two don't match. It's a It's a contradictory.
See, I said last week, I thought that that they're going to have to
play by the books.
Well, that the Republicans ultimately are going to have to withdraw his nomination and go with somebody else because he's so. And look,
Trump is okay with that. If he already said it, if they find something, he's going to be open-minded and he's probably going to drop it.
They got to find a way out of this because here's what I said. What I said last week, and I still believe this. This is the terrible box. Actually, the best thing that could happen, the absolute best thing that could happen for the Republicans right now is the FBI does come back with something questionable and they say, all right, we're going to cut bait on this finally. And here's why. And again, this is no judgment from me. I still use the word if, okay? Just for anyone who thinks that I've made up my mind. If the accusations against him are true, if capitalized, bold, underlined, circled, highlighted, if doesn't matter from a purely political standpoint. If you put that aside, okay, for the moment, whether he really did this or not, put all of that aside. This is just a purely political analysis. The Republicans are in a terrible catch-22. Because if the FBI investigation comes back fine and they go ahead, despite her testimony, they go ahead and confirm him, they're in a hurry to get that done before the midterms, because after the midterms, they're not going to be able to, probably, right? There's a real risk they're not going to be able to. But if they go ahead and confirm him before the midterms, the splashback, regardless of what the FBI comes back with, because her testimony was so compelling, the splashback on the Republicans is going to end up hurting them in the midterms if they confirm him before the midterms. Yeah. So they're in a terrible catch-22. Their best case scenario is to cut bait on him no matter what. And again, it's a giant if the allegations against him are not true, I feel terribly for him because his life and reputation are ruined. If the allegations against him are true, then I'm glad that finally some retribution on this guy. But
you have to admit, though, that's the reason why I hate the politics, in too much politics in the issue and so nothing gets done.
Yeah.
The Democrats are the ones who were all along asking for the investigation to the FBI, and the Republicans did not want it. They did everything they could not to. When Jeff Flake decided that was the thing to do, they went along with it because they had no choice. They didn't have the vote to confirm him.
Right.
And now the president says, it's all those Democrats' fault that we're having this investigation. It's a Republican who started the ball rolling.
Well, he isn't. Trump actually, though, I disagree slightly because I think Trump, surprisingly, again, credit where it's due, I think he's been pretty careful these last few days. Yeah, I mean, he's still kind of blaming the Democrats somewhat and saying, I think Kavanaugh's a good man and whatnot.
Did you hear his speech on Saturday?
But he hasn't gone...
Friday, I think it was.
He hasn't gone completely off the rails. And
he did in Virginia.
Gone back to...
Not as much as he used to, but he's still,
He's been a little...
Trump is not easy to change.
I mean, with Trump, we always grade on a curve, I know.
You never know what he's going to say.
But I thought his comments, though...
he has been holding his tongue somewhat, and then he comes off, and they tell him to hold on some more.
But he's been a little bit careful not to go back to trashing her, which is good, because at one point he was.
Well, I think that Kelly Conway is taking care of that.
Well, Kellyanne Conway came out and said that she's been the victim of a sexual assault.
That was shocking.
She has empathy with these women.
I do, too. I mean, I feel sorry for her. Anybody who's gone through that.
Oh, of course, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think
that's why there should be no politics in this. These are serious issues.
Yeah. But I just think they're in a terrible bind. if they confirm him before the midterms, it's going to hurt them in the midterms. If they confirm him after the midterms, they're not going to be able to confirm him. It really is.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, most likely.
We suspect that, but we still, I cannot predict 100% who's going to win the House and the Senate, or if the Democrats are going to win both the House and the Senate. We suspect definitely the House.
Yeah.
The Senate, they say it's getting closer, but you know what? There's still a couple of months to go.
That's true.
Until a month and a half to go.
This blue wave, actually less than that even, really, more like 5 weeks. But no, this I've been skeptical about this blue wave.
Yeah, is it a blue wave going up or a red wave going down or vice versa?
Well, the problem is
it's still a wave.
I mean, I think there is a blue wave in the sense that there's a lot of energy and enthusiasm on the left right now. But you
and where do the independents play in this?
I think independents are turning away from Trump, but
they have a big say.
But what always counters that, and what we always have to keep in mind, is when you have a wave like that happening, you've also always got people on the other side who are energized. You know, so so in theory, you've got Republicans who also are saying, okay, well, if there's a blue wave coming, we need to do everything we can do to stop it. So
will there be an October surprise, a political October surprise? Normally there is in the election years. Let's wait and see.
I don't know. I think
you never know.
I think the era of October surprises or November surprises is already past. Like
You think?
I think we're in a different time now. I think with the news cycle the way it is and the internet the way it is, and you look at that last election where, I mean, with Trump, it seemed like there was a series of October and November surprises and nothing stuck. I mean, if that Access Hollywood tape didn't take him down, nothing was going to.
Well, everything else was kind of suppressed. That's where they paid the $130,000, $150,000, and then they paid the newspaper.
Stormy Daniels.
So a lot of stuff was suppressed. But it was a close election. He did win. He went to the electoral, and he did win, and I give him that. But I'm still willing to wait for the report of Miller. Let's see what they discovered. I mean, the Congress has to vote for all that stuff anyway. They got to accept it or not accept it. They're going to read it, but they're going to have to vote to either accept the results or not.
Right. No, it's well, that's why
very tricky in politics today.
I look forward to that too. I keep saying it's like a book. It's like I'm reading a book that I want to just
better than a soap opera.
Skip to the end of it and see how it ends, but I can't because I can't bend space and time.
It's better than drugs.
Yes.
The suspense. And have you noticed, too, every single Friday, it seems to land on a Friday. All this stuff gets developed. The big news comes out on Fridays.
Yes. No,
immense.
Everything in the Trump era, everything's different. Everything's unique. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And I love it when Republicans say that, these people that have been fired, they're not Republicans, they're Democrats. Excuse me, they were hired by Trump, and they were fired by Trump, and they were Republicans.
He hires all the best people.
That's what he says. He vets the best people.
Says who?
And we have a call. We'll grab this. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's on the line?
Just Ridley.
Dave
Hi
Ridley.
there, Dave.
How are you, sir? Dave Ridley of the Ridley Report.
Have you guys heard of me?
Do we? Of course we know you very well. You're very popular in New Hampshire.
Yes. A household name, I dare say.
Controversial at times, but very popular.
Although I did get recognized the time before last, when I got on a plane, this would have been about 2 years ago, I was recognized twice on the plane and once in Colorado Springs.
Wow.
People were watched the YouTube channel.
They knew you far and wide.
Very good.
I guess that was funny, but that happened out there. It doesn't really happen any more often in New Hampshire than it does out there. So.
Oh, wow. Did they ask for your autograph?
No one asked for my autograph.
I would have embellished that story a little bit, but that's me. But you know how we radio hosts are. Well, except Glenn R.J. Ouellette, of course. He's the people's mayor. He's very honest.
You're funny.
His integrity cannot be impugned. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't call to tell you about me. I called to. Have you guys been following this brouhaha over the attempt to ban the libertarians from the debate on Channel 9?
You're kidding. They can't do that. They're a legitimate party right now in the state of New Hampshire. They had their own ballot, the primary. How can they say that and make it say that it's constitutional? Come on.
Although I do love a good brouhaha. So they're trying to keep Gilletta Jarvis out of the governor's debate?
Yes, and this
That
guy
wouldn't
named
be fair.
Justin O'Donnell, who's running for Congress, I think. And I guess one of the libertarians posted a copy of the criterion that MUR is trying to impose on the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
They basically might as well just say they have to be Republican. They might as well just say they have to be Democrats when you look at what they actually do say. So I guess it's they have to have at least 12. It's a quote. At least 12% of people surveyed in a poll must express their intention to vote for the candidate in any election. Unquote.
So there's no chance to have the
quote,
comeback
the candidate
kid if you don't.
Must have raised a minimum of $25,000 in individual contributions. Unquote.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, the system protects itself, and I wonder, and I don't know anything. I'm just speculating. But one of the things that we do, I think, is very important to do, and it's kind of a hallmark of political programming, is to speculate wildly and irresponsibly. So I can't help but speculate. Is the Sununu campaign, are they pushing to keep Gilletta Jarvis out? Because I think the Libertarian candidate would ultimately take more votes away from Republicans and Democrats in most situations.
They probably this is all the smoke-filled room type stuff. Like, can you go out and deal with this thing, and not make sure I'm not implicated,
right?
And you go out there and make sure that I don't have to debate so and so, and you go out there and make sure this or that.
They always have somebody else
but
do
also,
your
if you
dirty
think
work.
about it, the mainstream press tends to be very establishment oriented, and they, some things just stay the way they are because of that. But I don't know what they've had to change, if anything, in terms of their rules to try and keep libertarians out this time. Maybe it's always been this way.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it fair.
Right? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Especially when you abide by the rules. They are by the Constitution of New Hampshire right now. They are a legitimate party because they had the 5%, whatever it was needed, and so they should be treated legitimately. And it would be really a disgrace for them not to do that. That's not fair play.
But that's one of the ways the system protects
itself.
itself.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that's one of the ways the system protects itself is by simply moving the goalposts whenever it's convenient.
Yeah. And ask yourself, would the world really be worse? Would we all be worse off in New Hampshire anyway if these debates were chaos, right? Like at the debates, it's like if anyone could go and participate, you had 100 people, right? And Chris Sununu and whoever that authoritarian is running against him, if they were, if they were just lost in the crowd of people, having this debate, how would that be a worse world than the one we have now?
It's a point.
Yes. How would it be?
I don't know if it's well taken, but it's a point.
No, I get what Dave's saying.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, what's your answer, Dave?
Well, what would be the solution? Well, it always comes down to the same thing, thanks for asking, but it always comes down to saying, is there an act of aggression being committed or locked in by what's going on?
Actually, there is if they're changing the rules.
Yeah, well, in and of itself, a TV station changing some rules doesn't sound like an act of aggression, and in and of itself, it's not. But if you have a governor with the candidate who's running against him, and they both want to take more of your money next year than they already are taking. So they're already taking so much, and they want to take even more next year and even more the year after that. That's an act of aggression, and there's no allowance for someone to come in with a solution and say, well, how about we take less next year? There's almost no allowance for that, and although I guess there have been a couple of exceptions where the Republicans Republicans have done that.
But you also got to ask Dave, if who's pushing MUR to come out with these new figures, the limitations.
Well,
I
don't know
is it one
about
party
that
versus
exactly,
another?
But I do know that we don't talk enough about the fact that these sort of Soviet-style, Soviet-era type, media outlets that we've got, they're licensed by the government. To make a TV station,
That's
you've
true.
got to have an FCC license. So
That's
how can you
correct.
have an FCC license from the government to report negatively on the government? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to report positively on the government generally because you've got a government license, right? And people don't talk about this.
But also, on the other hand,
That's a good point.
There's not too many positive news out there when it comes to the news hours. A lot of it's negative.
Well, I mean, in a sense, it's negative. And let's go talk about the guy who lost control of his Wii while he was playing Star Wars, and he accidentally hit somebody in the face with his Wii. That would be a great story. Why don't we do a story about this murder? Why don't we do some other story about some bad weather or something? Yeah, they love those kinds of bad stories, but you do not see mainstream press in New Hampshire very often questioning the government itself.
Wasn't one of the stories about Kavanaugh, about him and his Wii and somebody in the face? Oh, we're talking about that. I'm sorry, that's two different things. I conflate things sometimes.
Well,
I get confused.
And that's the other thing they do is they will report negatively on the government as long as the report comes from somebody in Washington, and it's just some Washington story
Because they want it.
usually about Republicans, right?
Yeah.
So if there's just if it's not local and they don't have to do it themselves, well, then you might see some negative reporting on the government. And there are occasions where you'll see, just because they kind of have to, they report on something bad the government did. But they really don't get excited about it. They don't want that if they can help it. They want to provide happy paper type coverage to the government.
By the way, Glenn, just to shift gears for a second, Dave, before we let you go, Glenn, you brought up something right before the show, before we were on the air, about secession.
Yeah,
which is a
that's for
passion
another-
of
yeah,
Dave Ridley's.
It's in the process. It's another day. There's Dave would like it. The story came out this week. It's 13 states from all over the country, and New Hampshire is one of them.
That what are trying to secede?
Well, there's a fashion of New Hampshire that is part of that.
Yes.
13.
Yes, NH exit. Yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was so widespread.
Yeah, 13 states, and they're from all over the country.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. There's like a piece here and a piece there. And
Yeah.
Midwest, West, South, North, everywhere. We would be the only, if it would happen, we're the only state in New England that's one of the 13. You got to go to New York for the closest New England state.
Oh.
But it's all the way to California, Arizona, Montana, even Texas. Now, Arizona.
Well,
and
Texas has always had a secessionist movement. Yeah.
True, but all three, Montana, Texas, and Arizona, are really Republican states, are they not?
Yeah. Well, yeah, those are red states.
So why are they seceding? They're in power right now.
Well, freedom, right, Dave?
You'd think so. I guess it's the peaceful solution that it doesn't involve having to recompute an entire system
or civil war.
Because if you think about it, the New Hampshire government is really only, as much as I might complain about it, it's really only 2 or 3% as bad as the central imperial government. And the system is already functioning here, and the main problems we have, most of them in New Hampshire, are federal involvement. It's not so much a problem at the state level. So if you just had, if you're afraid of change, then you can just keep, all the systems that you're used to here, except no more IRS, no more Social Security, no more Medicaid. Of course, I'm sorry, no more Medicare. But I guess, some people are so afraid of losing their benefits that would be, they would consider that a negative thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Dave, we'll let you go, but please give the Ridley Report a plug before you leave us.
Ridley Report, something, Ridley Report.
Very nice.
Thank you.
All right, Dave Ridley, thank you so much for the call, my friend.
Okay, have fun
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Well, when you go to your second hour, because you're there now, I'm going to have to say goodbye, and we'll see you again sometimes this week, I hope.
All right, so we'll take a break. I'm going to play a song, this Elizabeth Cook song I like so much. And Glenn R.J. Ouellette, the People's Mayor, as always. Thank you so much, my
You're
friend.
welcome. Stay dry.
For joining us. Yes. And for the rest of you, don't go anywhere. Glenn leaves us, but stick around. Back with more Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM. And say that again, what?
And his vibrating head.
And my vibrating head, yes. All right, be right back. Oh, actually, I'm going to start this song over. I didn't, because I think the vocal comes right in. You messed up my flow, Glenn R.J. Ouellette.
So sorry.
And you call yourself the People's Mayor. How dare you, sir? No, it's quite all right. All right, here we go. We'll be right back.
Sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Standing up to a test while wearing a party dress. Sometimes love can be deceiving when you're quietly overachieving. Oh, sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. She's a socialite, a decent housewife, and she makes some mean lasagna. So when the mechanic said to let it all panic, that this was gonna cost you, she said, no, I don't need my engine rebuilt, and just check the oil and change the belt. Honey, I know you thought she saw me coming. Sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Standing up to a test while wearing a party dress. Sometimes looks can be deceiving when you're quietly overachieving. Oh, sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Says I should repent for the money I spent on shoes and bags and jewelry. Where the hell with that? My hard-working ass ain't gonna sit before a jury. I said, now isn't that a mighty small price to pay for all the love I send your way? Honey, when it comes down to the woman, sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Standing up to a test while wearing a party dress. Sometimes looks can be deceiving when you're quietly overachieving. Oh, sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Look at Dolly and Loretta, they still live it to the letter. Oh, sometimes it takes balls to be a woman. Oh, sometimes it takes balls to be a big balls to be. Sometimes it takes balls to be a woman.
How about a beer?
Hand me down what he's obtained. We're all down with that. Hurry now, don't be late, 'cause it's time to catch that rat. You and me, we're logging on to see his latest crimes. Guaranteed to blow your mind. This about to go down. Hey Trump, prepare yourself for the Don again. Man, you never heard a sound like a Don McGann. Man, Trump, we will lose control. tomorrow when the Don McGann starts to jam. You say this cat's out of sight. Everything he says seems to check out right.
How about a beer?
Hey, everybody, welcome back. I forgot how short that song was. It's Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We're well into hour number 2 today. Glenn R.J. Ouellette had to leave us. You know, he is the people's mayor. He's an important and powerful man, and he has the people's business to do. That was, of course, Don McGann Man, the song parody of Rubber Band Man. By the great Rocky Mountain Mike, my favorite YouTuber. He does a lot of great stuff. I figured I'd play the Don McGann song because, you know, we were talking earlier about Don McGann, of course. Part of his job as White House counsel is to shepherd these Supreme Court nominees through the process. And he's got to just be losing his mind because he's supposed to be leaving. He's supposed to be all done. And every time he turns around, it's like, oh, now what? Got to get this Kavanaugh guy through, but he can't. He just can't do it. I just clicked something on the Facebook Live. I didn't mean to, but it's fine. Hello to NASCAR Nicey, who joins us in the Facebook Live chat. Of course, that's one of the ways that you can communicate with us. Oh, Stefan Philbrook is in there. Hello, Stefan. He says, yes, Rubber Band Man. It is, of course, Monday, a very dreary October 1st, 2018. As we are well into hour number 2 of the show. 603-250-6007 is the number to call anytime within the next 45 minutes or so. 603-250-6007. Would love to hear from you. You can also, of course, opine in the Facebook Live chat. We are, of course, live on WMNH 95.3, also on Channel 97 Comcast if you're in the Manchester area. Streaming worldwide at WMNHradio.org and on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. And if you haven't given that a like yet, I hope you will do so. Even if you actually hate the show, just like the page anyway. Just help me out. I mean, you know, you might be one of those people who hate listens. And people do that, by the way. People will listen to things they hate and just enjoy the hate. Or you might not like or hate me. You might have some ambivalence. But regardless, just give the thing a like, would you? Even if you are ambivalent. Let's see. Of course, I found something particularly interesting. Now, this does not necessarily relate directly to, you know, we've been talking today about Trump, a big victory, you know, credit where it's due with his new trade deal with Canada and Mexico, if it is approved by Congress and whatnot. And of course, we've been talking about Kavanaugh and a myriad of things. There's always lots going on. But I found something really interesting on my favorite website, and hopefully yours, rightwingwatch.org. I do have a lot of fun with playing audio from the various folks, these sort of right-wing evangelical media personalities, whether they be radio hosts or they have podcasts online or whatnot, or they put out a lot of YouTube videos. And, you know, I'm very skeptical about what a lot of them have to say, but I like to listen not only with an open mind, but with an open heart, because that's really what this show's about. It's about open hearts. And this gentleman, Mark Taylor, who is the so-called firefighter prophet and radical conspiracy theorist, who releases a lot of content online, he may have answered a question that I've had for a very long time in terms of listening to these people, because so many of them, whether it's Mark Taylor, whether it's Pat Robertson, oh, we love the Pat Robertson audio. That's always fun to listen to, some Pat Robertson. Liz Crokin, another, or Cronkin, or whatever it is, she's she seems a little crazy. Some of these people seem a little nuts, but they're always talking about how God spoke to them. You know, God speaks to them and tells them what's up and tells them about how Trump was anointed to the presidency and all this. You know, it seems like God communicates with them quite a bit. And I've always wondered, how does that work exactly if God talks to you? Do you actually hear a voice in your head? Is that how it works? I mean, I hear voices in my head, but I'm pretty sure that's not God. I mean, I've got a voice that, every day I wake up with a voice telling me to burn things. I don't think that's the Lord. But how does this whole thing work? How does God communicate to them? Is it not a literal thing? Is it not an actual voice? How does this work? So, according to Mark Taylor, apparently, according to rightwingwatch.org, Mark Taylor has finally shed some light on this question that I've had, this thing that I wonder about. And I'm very sincere in this wondering. I really want to know. According to Mark Taylor, God has been using racehorses to speak to him. Yes, God speaking through racehorses to Mark Taylor. And now I see that, and I haven't pre-read this. I haven't played the audio yet. I like to give you my raw, unvarnished reactions to these things. But this is fascinating. Now, I'm not sure if this is an indication that Mark Taylor himself likes to go to the track and gamble. I don't think that's approved of. But maybe it is. Well, I don't know. I mean, the Catholic Church has bingo, and so maybe that's fine. Maybe God's okay with gambling. I don't know. I've always been a little unclear about this. But it sounds like Mark Taylor likes to go to the track. But apparently it is there while at the track. That's how God communicates with him. So let's. I want to learn more about this. So we'll play this. Clip. It's only a couple of minutes long. It's Mark Taylor on somebody else's show talking to somebody else is Christopher McDonald. I guess he's the host of the show, and Mark Taylor is a guest on his show. And there's a website on the screen, because this is actually video, but I'm going to play the audio for you. The TrumpProphecyMovie.com, because they believe that God chose Trump, and that's how he was able to pull off that amazing electoral college victory over Hillary Clinton. But let's hear about, and again, let's listen with not only open minds, but open hearts. Let's listen to Mark Taylor explain how God communicates through the racehorses with Mark Taylor.
They want to mask and disguise this, that it's about Roe versus Wade. We talked about this on the last show, how Hillary Clinton tweeted out, hey, they're going to gut Roe versus Wade. They're trying to stir the population up into thinking that that's what this is about. This has nothing to do with Roe versus Wade right now. This has everything to do with military tribunals, them being charged with treason and going to prison for the rest of their life, and some being executed. That's just the bottom line. Period. I don't know how else to do it. There was a prophetic sign that was given. And this is new since I was on your program last. A prophetic sign, huge sign, September 14th. And God's been speaking a lot to me through racehorses, through the Triple Crown. I prophesied there was another Triple Crown winner coming when it did, June 6th, 2016, I believe it was,
right,
on D-Day. So God's been speaking a lot through this. The racehorse named Barack Obama was euthanized.
Oh, my goodness.
That is probably the biggest prophetic sign that you could have of God saying this man is going to go down, period. That's the bottom line. You can get mad at me all you want to, but, God's the messenger here. He's the one sending the message. People don't think that this stuff's real or it's going to happen. It is going to happen. This is real. And justice is not coming. It's here, period. And it's taking place on the earth. This whole thing with Kavanaugh is all about trying to stop the military tribunals, guys. Don't buy into the lie that this is about Roe versus Wade. Is it about Roe versus Wade a little bit? Yeah, a little bit it is, but not as much as it's going to be in the days ahead when the next judges come into play. So this is all about rounding these people up, charging them with treason, and they know that basically their head's going to be in a noose, literally.
How about a beer?
Oh, my goodness. Well, so there you have it. God has communicated to Mark Taylor through the racehorses. See, so feel free to go to the track. Perhaps you'll receive some divine information. And a horse named Barack Obama was euthanized. And if that doesn't tell you all you need to know, then maybe you're not as crazy as Mark Taylor. I'm sorry. I'm kidding, of course. Like I said, we need to keep an open mind about these things. But That is how God communicates with him. Let's see. We have more Facebook Live activity. Hello to Dr. Jeff Kassel, who joins us in the Facebook Live chat, as well as Henry Noel from Transitional Radio. Hello, Henry. And Chuck Gosson joins us in there as well. Hello, sir. Nice to see you in there. That is one of the ways that you can opine during the show. And, of course, you can also give us a call, 603-250-6007. The phone line is open, 603-250-6007. Let's see. So we already, I'm getting a little bit tired of talking about Kavanaugh, but we should talk about this Kevin Jackson guy. And this does relate to Kavanaugh, but Kevin Jackson, have you heard of him? Apparently he was recently fired by, how bad do you have to be to get fired from Fox, right? How offensive do you have to be? But he is now criticizing Fox for their hypocrisy. So we'll kind of start from the beginning. So this is from Mediaite.com. I'm not going to play the audio because it's not worthy of, it's just the original audio that got this guy in trouble. But, of course, he's on Fox defending Kavanaugh. And I wasn't even familiar with this Kevin Jackson until recently. He was a Fox News contributor. Mediaite reports he was fired swiftly last week after he unleashed a torrent of tweets so this wasn't something he said on the air, but there is, this is something that happens a lot now. You know, you can lose your gig on television or in radio if you say something not necessarily on the air, but on Twitter or on other forms of social media. So there's a lot of precedent for this. So he said this on Twitter. Doesn't make it okay, but it says he unleashed a torrent of tweets amongst other nuttery and referred to Brett Kavanaugh's accusers as lying skanks. So that's what Kevin Jackson decided to call the accusers of Brett Kavanaugh. The pro-Trump radio host spoke out about his firing on Joe Piscopo's radio show. Joe Piscopo does a radio show now. Who knew? And if you're even 5 minutes younger than I am, you probably don't even know who Joe Piscopo is. When I was a kid, Joe Piscopo was, we talked about Saturday Night Live a little bit earlier. Joe Piscopo was a big deal on Saturday Night Live. After he left the show, he wasn't such a big deal. But I remember he and Eddie Murphy for a couple of years in the 1980s were like the two big breakout stars on SNL. Eddie Murphy, of course, went on to be very successful outside of the show. Piscopo, not so much. But apparently he's doing a radio show now. I wonder if it's a political show. I'm curious. I'd like to learn more about it. But anyway, so he was talking about his firing on Joe Piscopo's radio show Monday morning and ripped Fox News for apparent hypocrisy. Maybe it's not the same Joe Piscopo, but that's not, how common a name is Piscopo? I mean, it may be very common. There might be millions of Piscopos, and I just don't know it. The interviewer... I'm sorry, not the interviewer, the interview. We don't want to tarnish the name of Joe Piscopo here. The interview naturally kicked off with a defense of Bill Cosby, who has been accused of drugging, coercing, sexually assaulting, or raping 60 women and was just sentenced to at least 3 years in prison for a 2004 sexual assault. Jackson said, quote, icon Cosby, quote, sits in prison over 40 to 50 year ago allegations because some lying piece of crap leftist feminist who will say whatever they pay them to say or do, unquote. Well, this Kevin Jackson sounds like a charming fellow. I can't believe he was fired. My goodness. Fox is dumb, Jackson added before claiming that Fox News tried to have him say something about his tweets to save his job. Jackson said, quote, I could have said something to save my job. Fox was like, yeah, you want to say this or do that? I could still have a job at Fox if I wanted to say the right thing, unquote. Jackson declined to elaborate on his conversations with Fox. When reached for comment, he told Mediaite, I have nothing to say to you. On Piscopo's show, Jackson eventually turned his ire toward what he cast as hypocrisy at Fox News. Quote, Ed Henry was hanging out with strippers while he was married, unquote, Jackson said. Oh, my. Before falsely claiming Henry, Fox News' chief nationalist correspondent, has a show on the network. Jackson continued, quote, Jesse Waters, who just recently divorced his wife, or is in the process, and he's hanging out with some young chick that he did, if that's what Fox decides they want to have on, congratulations to them, unquote. What? That's more than a bit of a false equivalence, isn't it? Mr. Jackson? Henry took time off from the network in 2016 after tabloids reported an alleged affair with the Las Vegas stripper. Fox News host Jesse Waters, meanwhile, is currently divorcing his wife after an affair. Jackson also expanded on his attacks on Kavanaugh's accusers, calling Christine Blasey Ford a lying piece of crap. He implored Piscopo's listeners to look up the definition of skank. I gotta tell you, man, if somebody came on my show and was talking this way, I would be like, dude, I don't want to hear you anymore. I'd probably be like, I mean, I like radio that's controversial and stuff, but this would honestly repulse me on such a level that I just don't think, and I have a high tolerance, but, and if you're a regular listener, you know what I'm talking about, but I don't think I could abide this. I'd be like, yeah, instead of looking up definitions of words, maybe you ought to just leave and we'll wrap up this segment. I don't think I could stomach this guy. I think I would want him to leave the studio before he continued to spew his vile, and then I would probably want to forget that he exists. That's just me. I make no judgment about Joe Piscopo. He can do what he wants. I mean, he is Joe Piscopo after all. I mean, he was an icon of Saturday Night Live in the 1980s. His Sinatra impression was phenomenal. He played many great characters. I don't mean to in any way impugn Joe Piscopo or his judgment. I could not do that. I mean, whether you believe the accusers or not, isn't this a bit much? In his tweets from Friday, Jackson derided Ford and the other women who, okay, I already read that. In one tweet, he said Ford's, quote, academic, oh my God, this guy's a scumbag. In one tweet, he said Ford's, quote, academic problems came from her promiscuity. Promiscuity is in all caps. Dang, girl, stop opening your legs and open a book, he wrote. Wow. So a network spokesperson told Mediaite after Jackson's tweets, quote, Kevin Jackson has been terminated as a contributor. His comments on today's hearings were reprehensible and do not reflect the values of Fox News, unquote. I'm assuming, here's what I think. So this guy had to know, right? He had to know Fox was going to fire him. I mean, unless he thought, oh, it's Fox, I can get away with this. But no, I mean, of course, and he didn't say these comments on the air. And so, some people try to argue, well, if it's not on the air, if it's on Twitter, that's different. But, Fox, I mean, they're running a business, right? So ultimately, it's all about how sponsors are going to react to things like this. And this guy is so bad. I mean, this is just a bad guy. But I always wonder, too, when something like this happens, because the psychology of it is always fascinating to me, right? It's like when Roseanne did her racist tweets about Valerie Jarrett. It's like the psychology of it is interesting to me. What goes on in a person's head when they do something so self-destructive? Because any reasonable person of sound mind would know, if I tweet this, I'm going to lose everything virtually overnight, which is exactly what happened to Roseanne. Now she blamed, what did she blame? Ambien or something? But even with that, I mean, lots of people take Ambien and somehow manage not to destroy their lives in an instant. But that's what Joe. So what is it? What is it that goes on in a person's mind? See, I'm fascinated by the psychology that makes them do things or allows them to do things that are so self-destructive. And this guy, Kevin Jackson, he had to know, unless he really is arrogant enough to think, well, Fox will continue to have me on because I'm advocating for Kavanaugh and I'm attacking the accusers, and they like that kind of thing. Although Fox, to their credit, after Christine Blasey Ford's testimony, even Fox was somewhat deferential toward her. And maybe that had something to do with the president trying to not attack her. I don't know. But what I always wonder, too, is this a calculated move by, I mean, with Roseanne, no, that's a different situation. But a situation like this creep, Kevin Jackson, is there something else he's up to here? Maybe he wanted all this to happen. Maybe he wanted the publicity. And it's negative publicity, right? It makes him look really bad. I mean, even if you're, I would challenge even the most conservative Brett Kavanaugh defending, loving, Trump-loving Republican to defend this. I would challenge someone to defend what this guy said. Is there a calculation there that because of the media world that we exist in now, you can, in theory, if you're famous enough, and I never heard of this guy until this all happened, but if you're famous enough, or if you offend one subset of people, but then you have this other subset of people who are actually in somewhat of an agreement with you, is there a calculation that you can then build your own online following and be very successful? You know, you put up your own website, you create your own content, and you kind of put yourself on this island. You know, maybe it's a subscription-based service. You charge people for your content, and you can be as vile and nasty and awful as you want to, as nasty as they want to be. Remember that 2 Live Crew? I don't know. It's, again, goes back to the 80s. Well, early 90s, actually. But is that the calculation this guy made? I'm going to be extremely offensive, but I can then go and create content that certain people will consume, and they'll pay me for it. Because, you see a lot of that now on the internet. So maybe that's his calculation, but the problem for a guy like him, I think, is going to be, if that is what he was trying to do, I don't think he has the name. I don't think he's a big enough name to get on. But who knows? Maybe he'll get on CRTV, Steven Crowder's network there that has a lot of, that has Mark Levin and these other people. Who knows? Or he may have already had a deal in place and he wanted to go out with a bang. Who knows? But, I'm glad Fox got rid of the guy. But that's pretty bad. See, now, though, I'm curious. I'm curious about Joe Piscopo. Like, what's his deal now? Is he doing a syndicated political talk show, or what's because I really don't want to spend any more time on this Kevin Jackson guy. But wow, what a bad guy! I mean, he went way over the top. Let's see. It's play this. I have some Trump audio from the he gave one of his press conferences today that sometimes can get pretty wild. I'm gonna play this clip. He was referring to. You know what? I'm just gonna play it. You'll be able to figure out the context of it immediately. But I guess this was today. I might share a couple of clips with you. I mean, I'll say this. Whether I agree with him or not on some things. I mean, he's always entertaining, isn't he? Here.
Whatever the senators want is okay with me. They're going to be making a decision. Whatever they want is okay with me. Go ahead. That's enough, Peter. Go, please. Say it.
said this crap when you referred to I've been dealing with this crap for years. What did you mean?
Oh, I think the press has treated me unbelievably unfairly. In fact, when I won, I said, the good thing is now the press finally gets it. Now they'll finally treat me fairly. They got worse. They're worse now than ever. They're loco, but that's okay. I put up with it. Go ahead. I use that word because of the fact that we made a deal with Mexico. So, no, please sit down.
Thank you, Mr.
Go
President.
ahead.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I use that word because we just made a deal with Mexico. They're loco. I think he should have gone all in and said they're plum loco. Not that plum is a Spanish word, but I don't know. What is or maybe plum in Spanish is still plum. I don't know. I have yet another Saturday Night Live reference for you. Again, if you missed the season premiere of Saturday Night Live, Matt Damon as Brett Kavanaugh was absolutely epic. The opening of this week's SNL. One of the other things that came out of this week's SNL was Kanye West. Let's see. His performance was strange, but he definitely. I mean, look, he knows how to work the media and get a lot of media attention and so forth, but this was pretty weird. So, actually, we have a call. Maybe we'll come back to that. Let's see here. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
Matt, this is Jeff Kassel. I've been watching the show. I'm very upset. I'm very upset about what you're saying.
Dr. Jeff Kassel.
Yeah, you don't have even one kind word for the President of the United States. Does that make you feel like a big man to attack the President of the United States?
It does.
Mock the President of the United States?
I do have larger hands than he. I think it makes me feel, you know what it makes me feel like, Dr. Kassel? It makes me feel like a man with big hands and a big brain.
You know what I think as a doctor? I think you have Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yes. There's no doubt about it. You and the rest of the mainstream media, they're patronizing, they're condescending, they mock the President of the United States, and you know what else they do?
What?
They mock God. I've seen you do it.
Well,
I've seen you mock God with all that propaganda from those websites you go to.
Yes.
What's that all about?
I need to, you know what I need to do? I need to go to the racetrack so God can communicate with me through the horses.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. You make a joke out of it. This is pretty serious.
I'm actually being quite sincere. I mean,
Joe Piscopo?
Yeah.
Joe Piscopo has more talent in his big toe than you have in your whole brain, which is small.
Well, I will acknowledge this, Doctor. I cannot do the impression of Frank Sinatra that Joe Piscopo once did, and perhaps still does on his show. I don't know. I mean, it's remarkable. I've never been on Saturday Night Live. I will admit that.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. That's exactly right. You haven't been on Saturday Night Live. And you know who has been on Saturday Night Live? Many times?
Who?
The President of the United States.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yes, he has.
And let me tell you something else.
Yes.
That you don't talk about this. But 60 million Americans cannot be wrong. They voted for this guy. And you should show a little respect.
That's right.
Instead of mocking them.
Well,
Instead of mocking them, and saying that they represent the right-wing agenda. You're just another Bolshevik.
Ooh.
Another left-wing nut.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, you laugh. You think it's funny.
Well, I must say, I do always, I've been known to occasionally kneel for the national anthem, but I always stand for the Russian national anthem because I am a Bolshevik and proudly.
Oh, you think pledging your loyalty to the United States is a joke?
Yes.
Oh, maybe you're loyal to some other country.
I am. I'm loyal to Russia. I'm a
Some
Bolshevik.
banana republic somewhere. This is the United States of America, Matt. And you mock it, and you mock the president, you mock God, and you probably mock Jesus on your television show or your radio show. You don't have a television show anymore. You used to.
That's
Probably
true.
got kicked off the air
That's
for
true.
mocking the wrong people.
I did. My television show was, in fact, a mockery.
Well, you know, there are consequences for behavior.
Ooh.
You may make fun of Donald Trump, claim he's some kind of obnoxious, insulting blowhard who has an insatiable need for attention and hogs the camera all the time. But that's not true. He's just communicating with America with his Twitter feed. And, you know, all those mainstream media organs like CBS and NBC and Clinton News Network. You've heard of them, right? CNN?
Yes.
Yeah. Propaganda organs. They're trying to take down the President of the United States because they are part of the deep state.
Yes. No, I firmly believe that. But you know, I did give him credit for this this trade deal with Canada and Mexico.
Exactly.
I give him credit for
We're
that.
going to be able to ship them milk now. 300% tariff. What is that? That's protectionism.
That's right.
Trump called him out on it. He made fun of Canada. You know, people think they're our friends. They're just taking advantage of us.
That's
They're
right.
just taking advantage of the United States.
To me,
you know, former presidents, they didn't know how to make a decent deal. You know, Trump cleaned it up. Got a new NAFTA deal.
No, I agree with you. I actually think we're in agreement on that. In fact, you know what I say about Canada? To me, I mean, they're not even like a real country. It's like they're northern Michigan.
It's the 51st state. Who are they kidding?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an extension of America, and they're lucky to be part of it.
I'm with you on that. And
Donald Trump needs to talk sense into that French guy. What's his name? Justin? Is that what he called himself?
Yes. Justin Trudeau.
What kind of name is that?
Well, that is
Nobody's name is Justin.
That's a very weak name.
Oh, yes.
It's not as
weak.
strong and powerful
It's more
as
than weak.
Brett.
You know what it is.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there. Although I am very supportive. I am also very supportive of Trump's budding bromance with Kim Jong-un. I think it's lovely. And I make no judgments. They're in love.
Oh, so you think if Trump extends a hand of friendship to somebody, some nutcase leader who's got nuclear weapons, you think that's a bad thing? Trying to be nice to him? What's wrong with that?
Not at all.
There's nothing
support,
wrong with that. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
I support their. There's Kim's been writing love letters to him, and I think it's lovely. I think it's beautiful, and their lifestyle choices are theirs to make.
Well, you see, there you go again. You're mocking them. You're mocking, something that's really good for America, and this is what we should be concentrating on. Things that are good for America, and get rid of the globalists in the world, that are trying to wreck America. You and other people in the media, you mock Trump. But Trump is the target of witch hunts. We know that. That's well established. And these witch hunts are organized by Hillary Clinton because she lost the election. She couldn't handle it.
Yes.
They slander Trump. They call him a fraud. It's despicable. It's despicable.
Yes. Well, I try to be fair. I try to be. I always say, I'm a cruel man, but fair.
Okay, listen. I'm just whispering in your ear now.
Yes.
Don't mock the President of the United States, and don't mock God.
Right.
That's always a mistake.
Yes. Well, you're probably right, and there is obviously a correlation there. I mean, mocking the president is like mocking God.
Well, he is the authorized representative. Just talk to any born-again Christian; they're going to tell you that.
That's true. Yes, he was anointed.
Donald J. Trump is going to deliver us from the left-wing media, the failed New York Times, and Amazon.com. That's all I got to say.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Dr. Kassel. Take care. All right, Dr. Jeff Kassel leaves us. Always fun to hear from him. Doctor, you're still welcome anytime in the studio here. But yes, I think I was very sincere earlier with the audio that I played of Mark Taylor talking about God, speaking to him through the racehorses, and Trump is his God's favorite and so forth. I mean, but I try to be fair and balanced. That's what it is, fair and balanced. So CNN's, actually, Dr. Kassel did mention CNN, the Clinton News Network. CNN's Allison Camerata said today that she's very concerned about Kanye West after a pro-Trump SNL rant. Kanye West was the musical guest on this week's SNL. CNN anchor Allison Camerata said she is concerned about the rapper Kanye West after his pro-Trump rant after his performance on Saturday Night Live. Kanye apparently, I don't think what he was talking about, because he did 3 songs. They let him do 3 songs on SNL. Most artists get 2, but if it's somebody they deem to be particularly big or important, they let them do 3. Like I think when Eminem was on recently, he got to do 3, or the last time that he was on, or Prince, just a couple of years before his passing, the last time that he had been a musical guest on SNL. Although with him, rather than like performing 3 separate times, they kind of gave him one big block of time to perform 3 songs, if I remember correctly. But I think so. I think what happened is Kanye did one more song at the end of the show, and then he kind of went on this pro-Trump rant after the show was off the air, and he was just kind of talking to the audience. But and he certainly knows how to get media attention. But here, I'm gonna share with you. This is what they were saying about it on CNN, and I'm going to be a little bit critical here of Allison Camerata here, because, you'll see. Here, let me play the audio.
I guess the artist formerly known as Kanye West, he now goes by Ye. He was the musical guest. It was not his performance dressed as a bottle of Perrier that has people talking, though everyone does love sparkling water. It was what he said in the hat he was wearing, the Make America Great Again hat, and the comments about Donald Trump that he made at the end of the show. Watch this.
It's like the plan he did to take the fathers out of the home and promote welfare. Does anybody know about that? That's a Democratic plan. And so many times I talk to like a white person about this, and they say, how did you like Trump? He's racist. Well, if I was concerned about racism, I would have moved out of America a long time ago.
So most of his comments did not actually make air, but they were captured by former Saturday Night Live cast member Chris Rock, who was in the audience.
You can see the body language of some of the cast members behind him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's warm. I
think that they're uncomfortable, but I think it is a little bit uncomfortable, and I just am wondering if it's time to start worrying about Kanye, because he does go on sometimes nonsensical rants. I don't know. I haven't heard this whole one, so I don't know if it's nonsensical. But he has taken a break, I think, for some sort of stress-related issue. So I'm concerned.
The president obviously loved it, but I will ask you, what's different than Robert De Niro dropping an F-bomb at the Tonys?
It just went on longer and had more sort of offshoots and different rabbit holes that he went down that were concerning.
I look at it as yet another entertainer deciding to get political on company time, as it were.
Okay. I've got a lot of problems with that. Now, first of all, what I don't think they probably understand, and they probably don't care, is, and, as Dr. Kassel pointed out, I mean, I have plenty of my own criticisms of Donald John Trump, certainly. But the thing is, it's really, when you take someone like Kanye West and you start criticizing him for being so openly pro-Trump, and you say things like, oh, I'm kind of worried about him, or I think he's losing his mind, or this and that, when you go that route, what ends up happening is they really just feed into and play into all those people who talk about the liberal elites and the media. So it really just offers them fuel for their fire. So when Allison Camerata, and the guy sitting next to her, I don't even know his name. Maybe it's in the article here, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him before. But I don't watch a lot of CNN. But when she says something like that, it just comes across as very kind of arrogant and snooty and kind of looking down on someone, on this celebrity who supports Trump. And I just, like I said, it just really plays into that whole elitist thing. And then the guy next to her makes that comment, oh, it's just another celebrity getting political on company time. Obviously they would not have this. I mean, this is something that I think the right is correct when they point this kind of thing out, is that obviously they wouldn't have any problem with this if he was saying something that was anti-Trump and he decided to get political. And he asks her the question, well, what's the difference between this and, say, Robert De Niro dropping the F-bomb about Trump during, what was it, the Academy Awards or something? And she's like, well, this went on longer and he went on these offshoots and whatnot. And it's like, almost like he's sort of trying to play devil's advocate and point out, well, aren't you kind of picking and choosing here? What you think is a problem and what isn't. But, I think they both come off pretty badly here. But it's like, no, just, let Kanye do what he wants. I mean, you don't have to agree with him, but like I said, I mean, I'm as critical of anybody as anyone of the, well, I wouldn't say I'm as critical as anyone of the president, because I do try to give him credit where it's due, but where I feel that it's due. But like I said, this is just playing into the hands of those who would criticize CNN. John Berman is Alison Camerata's co-host, apparently. It says here, by the way, and this is from Mediaite, Trump did give Kanye West a shout-out, writing, like many, excuse me, like many, I don't watch Saturday Night Live, even though I past hosted it. No longer funny. I disagree with that, of course. No talent or charm. It's just a political ad for the Dems. Word is that Kanye West, who put on a MAGA hat after the show, despite being told no, was great. He's leading the charge. Let's see. And then it says here, West issued a tweet of his own after the show in which he claimed that his pro-Trump message is all love and that he wants the 13th Amendment abolished, even though it ended the slavery of African Americans in the U.S. Okay, that's strange. Alrighty. That part's a little odd. I don't really know what to say about that. But we are just about out of time, so I'll probably, you know what, just because I enjoy it, let's, before we wrap up.
I drank beer with my friends. Sometimes I had too many beers. I liked beer. I still like beer. Had beers, have some beers. One beer, drink beer, drinks beer, drank beer, and drinking beer. You've probably had beers, Senator.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor.
I got a weak stomach, whether it's with beer. I like beer.
You haven't answered that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one.
Hanging out and having some beers with friends, which I gladly do, and which I fully embrace.
All right. There you go. So,
how about a beer?
He very much likes beer, that Brett Kavanaugh. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But I will be very, very curious to see how this FBI investigation unfolds. So thank you, everybody, of course. Thank you to Dr. Jeff Kassel for calling a little bit ago, and Dave Ridley from the Ridley Report for calling earlier. And, of course, thank you to the People's Mayor, Glenn R.J. Ouellette, for joining me earlier on the show too. And let's end with this. This is something that Fred from thedailyripple.org sent me. He sends me a lot of great music to play on the show. This is Cowgirl Chorus. Cowgirl Chorus Y'all, I guess is the name. And it's You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man. Fred sent this to me in honor of the budding romance, apparently, between, because they're in love, between our president and Kim Jong-un. And we'll wrap up with this. And I'll be back tomorrow with more Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. Talk at y'all a little bit later.
You
come to tell me something you say I ought to know. That he don't love me anymore and I'll have to let him go. You say you're gonna take him, but I don't think you can, 'cause you ain't woman enough to take my man. Women like you, they're a dime a dozen, you can buy them anywhere. For you to get to him, I'd have to move over and I'm gonna stand right here. Well, it'll be over my dead body, so get out while you can, 'cause you ain't woman enough to take my man. Take it, Stephen.
Sometimes a man's caught looking at things that he don't need.
You don't say, well, it took a second look at you, but he's in love with me. Well, I don't know where that leads you, but I know where I stand. And you ain't woman enough to take my man. Women like you, they're a dime a dozen, you can buy them anywhere. For you to get to him, I'd have to move over and I'm gonna stand right here. One more time, say, women like you, they're a dime a dozen, you can buy them anywhere. For you to get to him, I'd have to move over and I'm gonna stand right here. Well, it'll be over my dead body, so get out while you can, 'cause you ain't woman enough to take my man. No, you ain't woman enough to take my man.
How about a beer?
(841-4600) or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
You are listening to WMNHLP, Manchester's radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA.